The Constitution of India, Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Happy morning, students. I hope you all are busy with your youth festival preparations, and we could see some of the items very clearly, and very happy to know that you have the same energy what you have been doing here, though you are not here in the campus. That shows the passion you have in your item, children. So that is great to hear that. Keep continuing the spirit, because it is our attitude that decides everything, right? So maximum try to feed in positive energy, remove all the negatives and try to focus on good things, and always good things will come to you. Okay, so wish you good luck, children. We are in the 4th chapter, production of metals. So we have been learning right from the first topic, that is metallurgy, concentration methods, and also we learned about extraction of ore, roasting, calcination, refining. Then we were getting into the purification, reduction, refining and purification. So today, before getting into the topic, we have 5 children who are ready with us to do a small recap. They are Anish, Yahya Ali, Diya, Lakshmi and Shreya. So I would like to welcome each one of them one by one, and I want everybody to support them, because it's a great effort that they are taking. So everybody must listen, because tomorrow you will be one among them to come here and do the recap. Okay, children, so let's welcome Anish now, followed by the others.
I am Anish from 10th A. I am here to give a recap on 2 methods in concentration of ore: leviation or hydraulic washing and froth flotation. Leviation or hydraulic washing. It is a method of removing lighter impurities from the ore particles by washing it in a current of water. Gold ore and oxide ore are the example. Froth flotation. This is the second method in concentration of ore. This process is used when the impurities are heavier than ore particles and the ore particles are lighter than impurities. Sulfide oxide are usually concentrated by this method. This process is done by mixing ore with pine oil and water. Ore particles stick on the pine oil and float on the surface of the water. By doing this way, we get the separation of ore particles and impurities. That's all. Thank you.
I am Ali from 10th B. Today I am here on behalf of Vijayalakshmi teacher, our chemistry teacher, to say about 2 topics, which are magnetic separation and leaching. These 2 are the methods of concentration of ore in metallurgy. So magnetic separation is the method in which magnetic power is used for the separation of the ore and the gangue. So either the ore or the gangue will be magnetic, and thereby it will be separated. So if I go more deeply, I can explain you like that. The ore will be put on a conveyor belt, and at the end of the conveyor belt there will be a magnetic wheel, or a magnetic something, a wheel. So when the ore reaches at the end, the one which is not magnetic, it will fall off, but one that is magnetic, it will move forward and it will be put on in another place. So in this way we can separate the ore from the gangue. So this method is used in the magnetite, which is the ore of a iron, and also for the separation of iron tungstate from the tin stone, which is an impurity of tin stone. So next I am going to say about leaching. Leaching is another process of concentration of ore. In this method we use chemical reactions to separate the ore and the gangue. So this ore and the gangue is separated as we put the ore in a certain solution, and in that solution the ore mixes up, but the gangue or the impurities will not mix up. So as the ore dissolves in it, we can easily filter out the gangue or impurities. So we get a filtrate in which it has ore. So later on, the ore is extracted from the filtrate with the help of another chemical reaction. This type of method is used in bauxite, which is an ore of the aluminium. Thank you, my dear friends. This is Ehyali from 10th B signing off.
Hi, I am Lakshmi. I am here to say a small recap of roasting and calcination. Roasting is the process of heating the concentrated ore in a current of air at a temperature below its melting point. Example, Cu2S is converted to Cu2O by roasting. Calcination is the process of heating the concentrated ore in the absence of air at a temperature below its melting point. Example, ZnCO3 decomposed to form ZnO plus CO2. Thank you, teacher, for such an opportunity. Thank you all. Stay home, stay safe.
Hi, today I am going to give you the recap of refining of metals. Refining of metals is the process of removal of impurities from the metals to get pure metals. According to the nature of metals and the impurities present in them, different methods are used to refine the metals. They are liquefaction, distillation, electrolytic refining. Liquefaction is the process of refining metals with low melting point. In difference in the melting point between the metal and the impurities is the basis of this method. That is, on heating the metals with low melting point like tin and lead on the inclined surface of a furnace, the pure metal alone melt and flow down, leaving the impurities behind. This process is called liquefaction. Distillation is the process of refining of metals with low boiling point. When the impure metal is heated on retort, the pure metal alone vaporizes. The vapors are condensed to get pure form of metal. The metals like zinc, mercury are refined using this method. Electrolytic refining. Electrolytic refining is the method of purifying metals by the process electrolysis. During the electrolysis, the impure metal will be the anode and the pure metal will be the cathode. Put in a suitable salt solution. As the current flows through the external circuit, the pure metal will be dissolved in the electrolyte and will be deposited on the cathode, and the impure metal, which is not insoluble, will be deposited at the bottom of the anode. This is how the method take place. The metals like copper, silver, etc. are refined through this method. Thank you. Hope you all understood everything.
Hello friends, myself Dia from 10C. I am here with a recap of the topic Industrial Production of Iron. Iron is industrially produced mainly from hematite. From this, the impurities are removed either through magnetic separation or through washing. The ore thus produced is subjected to roasting. During roasting, the impurities like sulfur, arsenic, phosphorus, etc. are removed in their gaseous oxides along with water. But silicon dioxide, which is a gangue present in the ore, is not removed. Hematite is converted into iron using blast furnace. A blast of hot air is passed into the furnace from the bottom, and thus it is known as blast furnace. Hematite, limestone and coke is passed into the furnace through a special arrangement at the top of the furnace. The carbon which is present in the coke combines with the oxygen inside the furnace to give out carbon dioxide and heat. Thus heat is evolved. This is an exothermic reaction. The carbon dioxide thus formed is combined again with a small amount of carbon in the coke and give out carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a reducing agent. Carbon monoxide reduces the oxide of the metal to form its metallic form. That is, when hematite, the iron ore of iron, gets combined with carbon monoxide, it gives out iron and carbon dioxide. The iron thus formed will have a small amount of impurity present in it. So limestone is used to remove this gangue. Limestone, that is calcium carbonate, displaces to form calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. The calcium oxide, which is a flux, combines with silicon dioxide, which is a gangue present in it, to give out calcium silicate, that is a slag. Thus, iron is produced industrially where gangue and iron is separately collected. Hope you understood the topic. Thank you.
So children, I think you all are happy to see your friends on screen, right? That's a great feeling, I know, because we are not seeing otherwise. And see, these children, when I called them, they were so happy, and nobody said no, and they immediately accepted. That shows the love they have for their teachers as well. So we love you all, children, and we are really missing you also. Okay, so let us get into today's topic, alloy. We have been hearing this word alloy many times. Alloy means it's a mixture of metals. More than one metal is being added, and that gives a different composition. Because of that, the properties will be different and also their uses. So here we are going to study about alloys of steel. You know what is a steel? So we are going to study about alloys of steel. Here, adding other metals to steel, the property changes, the uses also changes. What are the three types we are learning? Stainless steel, alnico and nichrome. So these are the three types of alloy steels we are studying for this year. If you see stainless steel, it has iron, chromium, nickel and carbon, and it is very hard. It has a property of very hard, being very hard. Alnico has got iron, aluminium, nickel and cobalt. It has got a magnetic nature, magnetic character. Next one is nichrome. It has iron, nickel, chromium and carbon, which has got a high resistance. Because of this property, the uses of these alloys are different. If you see stainless steel, take page number 69 in your textbook, children. If you see stainless steel, the uses are, it is used in manufacture of utensils, means vessels, and also for the parts of vehicles. If you see alnico, it is used for manufacturing permanent magnet. For cranes and all, they used to have a magnet, right? So for making powerful magnet, this alnico steel is used. Nichrome for heating coil. What do you mean by heating coil? It will be like this, induction coil. Just it will be round, where you can heat the substance that you want. You can put it on this and you can heat it. There are some questions given to us. You can write it as well. Which alloy steel is used for the production of heating coils? Explain the reason. Tell me, children, out of stainless steel, alnico and nichrome, which can be used? Yes, it is nichrome. What could be the reason? You see the property. Yes, it has high resistance, means it can withstand very high temperature. That's why it is used as a heating coil. So please write nichrome as it has high resistance property. Okay, next one is, even though nichrome and stainless steel contain the same components, they possess different properties. Find out the reason. What is the constituent elements they have? Stainless steel, if you see, iron, chromium, nickel, carbon. Here also iron, nickel, chromium and carbon. But they have different properties. What could be the reason, children? Reason is very simple. The composition of these elements, the composition of these metals in this stainless steel will not be the same. This can contain more iron, more chromium, less nickel. But this can contain more chromium, more nickel but less iron. So the composition content of these metals can be different. That's why they possess different properties. The third question, which alloy steel is used for making permanent magnets? Which is magnetic character here? Alnico. So Alnico is used for making permanent magnets. Right, if you see the next page, it is written, different types of alloys are prepared by changing the constituent elements and also by varying their proportion, which means the elements which are added can be different and their composition can be different. Composition means what? The amount of adding that metals can be different. So that will vary in their properties and also their uses. Now we will be learning about extraction of aluminium. We learnt about iron. You remember children, now Diya was explaining extraction of iron. And by the way, when she was explaining, I wanted to tell you, in page 69, there is a table given to you to complete about extraction of iron. Please do complete it because you will be getting questions like this in your exam, in your board exam. So please complete the textbook exercise as well. Okay. Now when we are talking about aluminium, see, aluminium is a metal which is the second most abundant metal in the earth's crust. It has lot of uses that is being used. Okay, so now we will be seeing about like transmission of electricity like wires or making cooking utensils, parts of vehicles. If you see in aeroplanes and all, the inside part is made up of bauxite, ore of aluminium. Okay, that is most important, and also for reflectors. So there are some uses given and you should find out the property. So try to do that. With respect to the uses, you try to write which property of aluminium makes it as a use for kitchen utensils or reflectors. Is that clear, children? So now we will be learning about extraction of aluminium, that is how it is being extracted from the bauxite ore. Now we will see how aluminium is extracted from bauxite. There can be several ores of aluminium, but why do we call one particular as ore? Because we know the property of ore must be, it should have lot of metal content, it should be easily available and it should be cheap also. That is, the process of extracting the metal from the ore must be reliable. So here we are going to see how aluminium is extracted from the bauxite ore. If you see, there are several methods like concentration, then we will do the roasting and calcination, and then we used to go for reduction, and then last will be the refining, that is purification. But when we are learning about extraction of aluminium, it is quite different. How does it happen? First, the bauxite ore is concentrated by the leaching process. In leaching process, what happens? You are going to dissolve in sodium hydroxide, hot sodium hydroxide. When you dissolve the ore of aluminium in hot sodium hydroxide, you get sodium aluminate. What do we get, children? We get sodium aluminate. And what are we going to do? Along with sodium aluminate, there will be some impurities which are present, because the purpose of doing the concentration method, that is leaching, is to remove the impurities. So what happens here? Along with sodium aluminate, the impurities will be there. Once you are doing the filtering, the impurities will be filtered off. So what happens to the filtrate? What are you going to do? We are going to add freshly prepared aluminium hydroxide. What is the formula? AlOH thrice. Aluminium hydroxide. When we add aluminium hydroxide and when you dilute it with water, you get lot of aluminium hydroxide which is getting precipitated out. What do you mean by precipitated? Which is coming out of the solution. They do not mix with the solution. It comes out separately. So the filtrate, that is of sodium aluminate, will be mixed with freshly prepared aluminium hydroxide, diluted with water, and then when you are filtering, what you get is aluminium hydroxide as precipitate. Now that will be filtered and heated. What is the purpose of heating? When you heat any substance, all the moisture content, that is water content, will be removed. It will be expelled out. So what do we get here? Once the water is removed, you get our alumina. What is alumina? Alumina is a compound from which aluminium has to be extracted. You got it, children? So we don't do it directly from bauxite. It has several steps where from bauxite through leaching it gets sodium aluminate, which on filtering with aluminium hydroxide you get aluminium hydroxide as precipitate, which when filtered, heated and dried you get alumina. So alumina is a substance from which the extraction of aluminium is going to be done. Now we are into the process of learning how aluminium can be extracted from alumina. We'll see after the concentration method is done through leaching, how we are getting the aluminium extracted from alumina. So what is happening in the concentration process? Aluminium hydroxide, when it is heated, I told you, the water will be expelled out, and what do you get is alumina. So here, aluminium reactivity is very high. Aluminium is a highly reactive metal, just like our sodium, potassium and calcium. And we know there are reducing agents like carbon, carbon monoxide and electricity. Now tell me, children, just think and tell me which reducing agent can be used for aluminium. Can we use carbon, or can we use carbon monoxide, or should electricity be used? Because we know aluminium's reactivity is very high, we cannot use carbon and carbon monoxide. So what are we supposed to use? We use only electricity for this extraction of aluminium. So now we are into the process of extracting aluminium through the electrolysis process. I told you what is electrolysis. That is, you take an electrolyte and you start inserting the electrodes, and thereby the oxidation and reduction reaction occurs simultaneously. So here, this is a setup for electrolysis of aluminium. You have in page number 71. I have a steel tank. I have a plug which is inserted. We have carbon lining which is acting as cathode, that is negatively charged. We have carbon powder on the top, and you have a few carbon rods which are inserted into the electrolyte, which will be acting as a positive electrode, that is anode. So my positive electrode is anode and my negative electrode is cathode. Carbon lining acts as cathode and carbon rods acts as anode. So which is the electrolyte we use here? We use molten cryolite plus alumina as a combination of electrolyte. Cryolite is again an ore of aluminium, but we are going to use molten cryolite and alumina. Why do we use cryolite? We can just put alumina and start the electrolysis process. There is something or some reason for which we add cryolite. See, the melting point of aluminium is very high. What is happening in electrolysis? The metal has to melt. But if the melting point is very high, it takes long hours for the metal to get melted. So to save our time or to reduce the melting point of aluminium, we use cryolite. So cryolite uses to reduce the melting point and to increase the electrical conductivity. So we have two uses of cryolite: to reduce the melting point and to increase the electrical conductivity. It's an often asked board question, so please mark it important. Why do we use cryolite in the electrolysis of alumina? Okay, so what is happening? We got alumina. What is the formula for alumina? Don't forget, children, it is Al2O3. So Al2O3 will give 2Al3 plus 3O2 minus. So what is happening here? Aluminium 3 plus being positively charged will get into my negative electrode cathode, and at cathode always reduction take place. So when reduction take place, what is happening? It has to gain electrons and the metal has to get reduced. So aluminium 3 plus, after accepting 3 electrons, get reduced to aluminium metal. And what is here? Oxide O2 minus being negatively charged get attracted to my positive electrode anode, where oxidation occurs, so releases 4 electrons and get itself oxidized to oxygen gas. Now these carbon rods which we use for electrolysis of aluminium has to be replaced again and again. This is also an often asked question, children. Why carbon rods inserted should be replaced often? It is just because this carbon will combine with the oxygen at anode and forms carbon dioxide. Formation of carbon dioxide will not give a proper extraction of aluminium. So once the process is over, we have to replace the carbon rods. So this is what is extraction of aluminium. With this, our chapter gets over. We have 8 questions given in letters assist. I want you to write the answers, and I'll be calling you, or I'll check the answers through WhatsApp, children. Okay, I'll be inserting some videos for you regarding this topic, and which will give you a perfect idea of extraction. And if you have any doubt, you can call me. So take care, children. Stay home, stay safe. See you in the next class. Bye.
Let us learn the most abundant metal in the Earth's crust. Aluminium. Aluminium is a silvery white metal with atomic number 13. It has 3 valence electrons and its valency is +3. Aluminium is a very reactive metal. Therefore, it exists in nature only in combined states. The main ores of aluminium are bauxite, cryolite, and corundum. In 1825, a scientist named Hans Christian Ørsted was the first to extract aluminium from its ore. Aluminium is mainly extracted from bauxite. Bauxite contains 60% of aluminium oxide and the rest is sand, ferric oxide, and titanium oxide. The extraction of aluminium from bauxite involves 3 main steps. They are the conversion of bauxite into alumina, the electrolytic reduction of alumina, and the refining of aluminium. The conversion of bauxite into alumina is done using the Bayes process. In the Bayes process, the bauxite ore is finely crushed. Then it is heated at about 150 degrees Celsius under pressure with concentrated sodium hydroxide solution. Bauxite dissolves in the solution and produces sodium meta-aluminate. The insoluble impurities, called red mud, are removed by filtration. The sodium meta-aluminate solution is then diluted with water. From this solution, aluminium hydroxide is precipitated. The precipitated aluminium hydroxide is filtered, washed, dried, and ignited to produce aluminium oxide. Aluminium is produced from aluminium hydroxide by using the Hall-Héroult process of electrolytic reduction. In the Hall-Héroult process, the aluminium hydroxide is dissolved in a mixture of molten cryolite and fluorspar. This solution serves as the electrolyte for the electrolysis. The electrolytic cell is a rectangular iron tank with sloping bottom. This tank has a carbon lining which acts as the cathode. Anode is the set of thick carbon rods suspended into the fused electrolyte. When a large current is passed through the molten mixture, the aluminium ions are reduced to aluminium metal at the cathode and oxygen gas is formed at the anode. Aluminium is denser than the alumina cryolite solution and so settles at the bottom of the cell. In this process, the anodes have to be replaced after some time since the oxygen gas reacts with the carbon anodes and forms carbon dioxide gas.